Hello and welcome to Wednesdays at 1. This is April 29th, and I'm going to be talking to you about how mobility fits in, how it fits in with this process that we're talking about dealing with overwhelm, the trauma, the things that are going on around us by getting to know ourselves. That's really the key element. Now, look, if you're like me, you're having some issues with balance, shall we say? For example, we have a routine set up. Life is going along just fine, thank you very much, based on all that we've been doing. And want to make sure we're recording. And then suddenly there's a change. There's an upset. We hear that there's a health issue going on. Lots of people are getting sick. It may be coming in from outside the country. And suddenly the balance changes. We're rocked. The routine is not so great. But I don't know about you, but it took me a little time, and then I was able to adjust to it. Well, then another little while after that, suddenly comes this stay-at-home order. Now, look, I work from home, and so that wasn't such a big challenge for me. But every time I went out and saw changes out there, it did the same thing. It threw me out of balance. It was very unsettling to me. And for a couple of weeks, I was really rocked. Then I adjusted, and I think now that I'm into something that might be considered a routine. But now there's all this news about things opening up again. Like, what's that about? And yes, I'm happy that that's happening, but it's not as if someone can flip a switch and we just go back to the way things were. It's just not going to happen that way. And I'm already feeling that unsettledness coming in again. Well, I'm here to tell you that there are ways to find and retain our balance in the midst of all this kind of stuff that happens to us, that comes into our lives. I know because I've been able to do it, and I'm trusting as I go forward. It's going to happen again and again. But there are things that I want to share with you to help in this process. And I am changing. I mentioned during the week that I was having a brand new perspective come over me, a new view of this whole pause, stay at home, life changing. And that is that I really see it as a major opportunity, because what's been happening to me has probably been happening to you. And that is my overwhelm is being exposed, has been exposed. Yes, I was fighting overwhelm before this all started. But because of my routines and other little things that I had set in place, I didn't really notice it so much. Or it would only happen here or there when I would wring my hands and say, what am I going to do to slow my life down? But now it's an ongoing thing, and I can't ignore it. If you have been, I don't know, come on in and recognize it, because I want to go through some things. That's what this series is about, is going through 7 different areas where we're going to be able to look at what is throwing us out of balance and what we can do about it. Now, look, if you don't know me, my name is Sandra Allen Lovelace, and I support women, have been for more than 40 years, in getting to know themselves, to understand our unique design, and also to enjoy our purpose. Those two things are integrally linked. They go together. And actually, it's been part of my process these last few years to heal from the thread of overwhelm that's run through my life. And in case you don't know, overwhelm, when it comes in, whether it's a single episode or a collection of episodes that really make a pattern of trauma, of overwhelm in your life, it's called trauma. When it affects your body and your mind and your spirit, that's major overwhelm coming into all those 3 areas. That's trauma. And I understand what that's like. And now that I'm moving forward in terms of healing for this last while, as I said, I want to share that with you. It's one of the first things that one of the first reactions I had when I came out of that first 2 weeks, realizing, wow, I'd been thrown backwards in the growth that I had, and I'm having to redo some of those pieces again. And this is exciting because I'm seeing it and understanding it. How can I share that with other women? Because women are women the world around. And I'm pretty sure that they're having some of these same struggles. That's why I'm here. I want to help you learn about finding balance, not just for now, but really for this coming of opening up again and so on and so on. Now, it's not just, this is the other piece I promised to share, and that is, this is not just about personal growth. There's a much bigger perspective here that God has really shown me. And that is that we're not just doing personal growth for ourselves, but because the confidence in who we are, the strength and awareness of our purpose and that we can walk in it, and our bravery to do so, all those things that we gain, which yes, they're benefits for us, but they go beyond that. They're preparation for our part in what's coming next. What is that, Sandra? Well, really, I'm not sure. I have some ideas, which I'll share somewhere down the road. But for now, it doesn't really matter what it looks like. It's going to be change. It's going to feel, again, like overwhelm. And it's going to be very important for us, not only personally, I've already said that, but also to be able to support, encourage, and share, as I'm sharing with you. You'll be able to share these different strategies, approaches, mindset changes, maybe, with your family, with your friends and neighbors. And now look, when I say neighbors, the people that I mean are the people that you interact with, that you have influence with, and that they have influence with you in your community. Wherever that community is, it might be your community at your job or at your church, or where you participate in your hobby or recreation time. Maybe you go biking. I have a friend that goes biking all the time. That group is her place. Or maybe it's where some other organization where you serve. There's people all around us all the time that we influence, and they're the ones that I have in mind. That's the perspective that's a lot bigger. It's not just about me and those of you that are going to follow here in this trauma series, but it's also going to be you going forward in larger and larger circles. It's really exciting when I think about that. It helps, frankly, it helps take away concerns about the details of what's coming next, when I realize that God is preparing us now. Now, I want to be ready for that and have balance now, so that when I move into that, it'll be, even when the changes come and I'm shaken, it'll be easier to get back in balance, because I've just experienced that. Things that it's taken me years now to develop, I came back into balance much faster. So I introduced that process actually in Trauma 202, the last time that we were together. And I presented it. It's a 3-column, simple piece of paper, but it begins with the signals that we sense, that we feel in our mind, in our body, in our spirit, the things that start to feel like overwhelm, the situation that caused them, and also the source that goes behind that. Because really what's going on inside is generally, or the things that are happening even, are generally relatively small, but our reaction is larger when it connects with other things, past things, the trauma maybe that we've experienced in the past. And once we sort that all out, it diffuses its power over us, helps us to still feel the feelings. That's okay. As Leslie Vernick says, yes, our feelings get a voice, but they don't get a vote. They don't get to choose how I'm going to respond. And I'll tell you what, if you want to know freedom, that's freedom. All right. Well, today I'm going to be talking about mobility. Last time I spoke about predictability, how when we have a framework in place and that gets rattled, it then shakes us up. Now I want to talk about mobility, our move around, how we can go place to place or can't go place to place. And as with predictability, when we talked about that, let me remind you that so often our job, getting up in the morning, heading out at a certain time, and we have this plan for the whole day, and then we come home, and when that stops, when our job stops, a lot of us defined ourselves by that. And suddenly we don't know who we are. Our identity starts to fall apart. And I believe that's really an advantage if you think about it, because we're not our jobs. What we do is not who we are. We are beings. We're not doings. Yes, we do, but we're beings, human beings. Okay, let me get on to mobility. So before we had active bodies. We went here and there, we went in and out pretty much when we want. Now, I've lived in other countries, and actually I kind of enjoy that, where I didn't have a car. And I was not able to just decide, oh, I feel like going to drive for 10 minutes and get an ice cream cone. You'll hear that in a lot of my examples. Because it means I have to check the schedule. I have to get on a tram or a bus to go to another part of town to walk to an ice cream store, to an ice cream place. I can't just have the freedom there that I have here, or at least had. Now I'm not doing that now at all. And that loss of activity is what Bessel van der Kolk, in his book, Your Body Keeps the Score, and he is the source for these 7 different areas that I'm sharing with you. He spent his career studying trauma. He has a research center in Boston. And this one about mobility is really significant because loss of activity, the way he defines it, is the sense of agency. Sense of agency. Now that doesn't mean you have to start a real estate agency or a rental car agency or anything like that, but maybe you can connect a little bit there, because the sense of agency means the feeling that we have deep in that we can do things. Now, you may not be able to run a 4-minute mile, but there's a lot of things that you can do. It means that we have influence. We have impact. We can affect the world around us. Even if it's as simple as going out and weeding the garden. And actually, I like that kind of activity, because when I'm done, I can see the results of my work. And for example, right now, there are a lot of going out of the house things that I'm not doing, like planting fresh flowers in my garden. I'm not doing that because I don't have the soil. I am not going to go and spend time at the store to get those things. Now, one of the first things I want to talk about is a physical reaction to that loss of the sense of agency, our inability to interact with the world. And it's really powerful if you think about it. Now, one of them is anxiety. When anxiety hits, that loss of agency, we're not able to just come and go. We don't have an effect on the world. We can't accomplish tasks the way we did before. Somebody told me she hadn't made a to-do list in 3 weeks, and I was shocked. Steals our oxygen. Now, do you see how those things fit together? We're not physically active, and the anxiety level steals our oxygen from us. Now, if you're active, going outside, walking, things like that, and keeping that oxygen level up, which I was doing 5 days a week. I went to the gym in the morning and I knew that's what was happening. I'm not doing that now. I'm doing some exercise at home, but it's not the same really. And it steals our oxygen. which, in case you want to know, opens the door to aggression. And this is one of the reasons why domestic violence is on the rise. The reports of it, at least, are on the rise right now, because that anxiety stealing oxygen opens a door for aggression. So physical aspects, it's important to share this with you, and that is that even though we have these drawbacks, we have these problems where we're snapping. Let's step back down from domestic violence and just talk about how we snap. We snap at our kids, and we notice that, and we feel really bad, and we have to tell them we're sorry, and we're working hard to not let that happen. Or we get really angry because we drop something and we kick whatever it is. I hope you're not hitting your dogs or spraying water on your cats or any of that stuff at home. But just to say that when those things are going on and we feel horrible about it, we are not collapsing in who we are. That person that was sensitive to other people's needs and the world around us and really could keep ourselves in check, it's not because we're suddenly somebody else. It's the effect of this loss of oxygen, this loss of the sense of agency, these physical things, emotional things that are going on. Now, I want to talk about these pieces with the discovery I also promised. I mentioned my perspective widening, but also another thing I mentioned that I made this week is really special to me. And I shared it with a friend, and she agreed. She said, "Oh yeah, Sandra, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, that's true for me too." So I'm going to share it with you. And it goes like this. When I go somewhere in my car, I know, and this is intentional, I've thought carefully about it. I know that when I leave my house, I'm leaving behind the dirty dishes in my sink, the pile of laundry that needs to be done. Any other tasks that have to be done there, I can't do them because I'm not there. I can just let them go. And I'm in my car, and I'm on my way, let's say, to the grocery store, but I can't pick out the vegetables that I need and want because I'm not there, or any other choice. I'm not there yet. I have my list with me, but I'm not there. Or I'm going to an appointment, and maybe I'm going to be late. I'm going to have to say I'm sorry when I get there, but I can't do it until I get there. So I'm in the car in this really special, no interruption, no distraction zone. And what I do is I have CDs in my car that are very uplifting, and I have 3 of them. I rotate them, I slip them in, and I turn them on, and I sing. And because they're very spiritual songs, I worship while I'm driving the whole time. And well, actually, it just happened this morning. I had a medical appointment I had to go to, and I started to think about this meeting, this recording. And I thought to myself, I don't want to be distracted by that because I'm in the car and I have this opportunity to lean against this problem. When I mentioned it to my friend, she said, Sandra, you're absolutely right. I pray when I'm in my car, and I haven't done that in weeks. Well, I sing when I'm in my car, and singing goes along with my healing process because it causes my whole brain. I'm not just singing lyrics while I think about other things, which is a habit I've had to train myself because I did used to do that. I'm listening to the worship music. It talks about God and my relationship with him and so on. And I am imagining those things. I'm using my whole brain, which is a healing process from trauma, by the way, and singing, giving my whole body to it. This morning, I was even raising my hand, and I really don't care what the truck drivers thought. There are a few other drivers on the road right now anyway. And so, yes, driving in the car is a spiritual thing for me that is missing, pretty much missing. And last week, when I realized that, I only shared it with my friend yesterday, but when I realized that, I thought, I have got to find a way to add that into my life. Now, look, I don't know, but I don't know if you have anything like that. Actually, if you do, you could put it into the chat. You could put it in the comments, because then I will be able to know that it's not just my one friend and I, it's you too. And so I thought, well, I could sit in my car or I could drive around just in my car and come home, but that would burn up gas. And so I have found another way to add that very worshipful time into my days. I just have to cut everything else out and worship with music. That's my answer. Now, that's my one thing. Now, I talked about physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects of this mobility, how it fits into our lives, and the lack of it really can negatively impact us. But some more about what we can do about it. Here we go. First of all, we can choose to act. We don't have to sit like bumps on a log. We don't have to do things like I did the first 2 weeks. I don't know what to do. I'm going to take a nap. Oh, it's late. I can't fall asleep because I took a nap. I'm going to put on this old movie that I've maybe seen 3 times and fall asleep in the middle. I mean, really, whatever those kinds of things were, I don't need to give in to that. Now, one thing for me that I recommitted myself to this week is I need to walk. And I need to do that medically for my legs for healing, but also because it adds that fresh oxygen into my body. And it's a simple thing. It doesn't cost me any money. I just need to be disciplined. Oh, this verse comes to mind. 2 Timothy 1:7, where it says that we have not been given a spirit of timidity, but a spirit of power, wisdom, and self-discipline. So that same spirit living in me is living in you. There you go. You can choose to serve. Maybe you had a job or activities that really filled your gas tank, and not your car, you know what I mean, your emotional gas tank. And it's cut out, or you can't go and sing or play your instrument where you were before to support people. You know what? There's a lot that you can do. Actually, I had a friend text me today asking if she could do a certain thing on Facebook, a Facebook Live a certain way. Well, I didn't have the final answer, but she hasn't adventured into social media like this yet. And I told her, you need to do that. You'll make a good presentation there. It's really good. Maybe that's a world for you to open up now. I really don't know. Maybe you need to do what I suggested, get in your car and drive. If driving is the thing you did, don't worry about the gas, drive or some other substitute, but make plans. And remember, making plans was part of what we talked about last time about predictability. So you can cover 2 of these different areas with one thing: make a plan. Even if it's a plan to say, I'm going to try this certain thing, which is what I'm doing today. I'm going to try this and then see how it goes. Because you've made a plan, mark it off your calendar, and there you go. You're moving forward. All right. Another thing that's really important, it's a strategy here, is for you to practice self-regulation. That's a term from van der Kolk. Practice self-regulation. Really, with the lack of oxygen, the levels of anxiety going up, this particular area of the lack of mobility, etc. There's a lot cascading that, once again, it doesn't mean there's something terribly wrong with us. It's environmental, but we can respond to it. For example, self-regulation. When the thoughts come, how dare that person, whatever. And even when you when you say that to yourself, you realize that's not really me. Where's that coming from? Stop. feel the feelings, think about it. Go back to what I talked about last time, that what's the signal you're getting? What's the situation that's setting it off? And then look behind at what's the source of that. Because so often a small thing will get escalated into something major, and you can sort that out. I know, because I've been doing it. I've got friends that do it. Then you can do the same process with your emotions. Those are your thoughts, your emotions, and your behaviors. When you catch yourself being short-tempered with your children, let's be realistic. Just like us, those of us who go out to work and have that fulfilling job, even if you were a stay-at-home mom before, now the things that the routine you set up for yourself through the days is how you looked at, oh, this is my life. I'm really happy I have this kind of life. Now your children are there and you have to educate them. You're responsible to homeschool them, something you didn't want to do. You don't like doing it. It's not your choice. I did homeschool, so it was my choice, but I get it. It wasn't what you signed up for. But look, we've all lived through these kinds of things before. We've lived through hard times before. If you want to look at this specific health crisis, look back at the Spanish flu. Yes, people died there. But as a culture, as a nation, we lived through it. Life went on, and a lot of people, a higher percentage, lived through it. Now, not only that, but in the midst of it, God is still here. Yes, it's hard, but God is here. And our relationship with him is something that we can actually strengthen and develop. It's something else I've been working on. Get into his word. Look at the truths in there to stabilize yourself, to lean against those things that are coming in. I'm never going to be able to, I'm never going to have this. I'm never going to come back to center with the truth. Now, I'm talking about these kinds of things. I want to add in one more, and that is simply to breathe. To breathe, just like walking gets fresh oxygen in there, breathing, taking good deep breaths when we start to get overwhelmed, and to relax, to calm our body. Now, I'll confess right here, that's exactly what I did before this visit. I took several very deep breaths, calmed my body. I walked slowly over to turn the overhead light on so that you could see me. And I calmly went through the steps to prepare the meeting. I did that all on purpose to calm my body down. And by the way, where my legs are being treated at Green Life Wellness, there's a great little video about breathing, and I'm going to put the link in the comments below this. As soon as I'm done and post this, I'll put the link there. It's very simple. I've been doing, you can do it at meal times. All right. Anyway, what I want to give one slight caveat, one little alert, maybe I'd like to say that. And that is, during this time and any time when we're struggling for balance, really, drugs and alcohol are not the best choice. I'm not saying don't have a glass of wine with dinner, but what I'm saying is be very careful that we don't use those as a coping mechanism, because they're not going to help us balance. They're not going to help us sort out what's going on the inside. Neither are the numbing activities that we choose to do, which is one of the upcoming sessions, and I'll be saying a lot more about that because I'm aware of those. All right. In order to meet the challenges of overwhelm and to grow our confidence and our strength and our courage, our bravery, I'm going to suggest a small challenge here, and that is, how about for the coming week, since actually that's what's happening to me before we get together here, God is taking me through mobility in my life to prepare me and give me examples. I'm learning that. How about if you take that on for this coming week? Pay attention to your signals that are throwing you off balance. what's causing that, what's the poke that makes that happen, and where is that coming from, and get a handle on that. You might want to do some journaling around about it. Now, next week, we're going to be talking about connection. Connection. How does connection fit in there? Forget the exact title that I have, but it's going to be equally important. Actually, I find them all pretty equal. And before we go, I just want to say that if you have not watched this in the original, if you're watching a replay that was posted somewhere, I really would like to be able to include you in the invitation. And in order to do that, you need to get your email address to me. You can do that in a private message here on Facebook, because that's where I'm going to repost this. I hope. I'm learning. I'm doing the things I'm sharing. And I'll add you to that invitation list. You can also reach out to me for other things. Maybe you're feeling like, okay, this is really great, but I need a little more personal conversation. You can reach out to me at my email address, which is sandraallenlovelace@gmail.com, or you can find me on my website, which is sandraallenlovelace.com. Okay, I think I've gone a minute or two over. I'm sorry. It's because I can't see the clock right now. But I'm praying for you. I'm right beside you. Take my hand and let's carry on with this mobility challenge. God bless. I'm going to close the meeting now.